What's going on, everybody? I'm Average Joe. Welcome to another Average video. Today's video, we're gonna be messing around with some emergency communication stuff. Question for you is, have you ever been in some sort of disaster or just emergency where your cell phone didn't work? Or maybe you're out in the backcountry and you don't even get a cell signal. And that's what's been rattling around in my tiny little brain since Hurricane Helene. So if you're not familiar, I did go down there to help out with some of the disaster relief and stuff like that. A whole bunch of portable power station companies sent me power stations so I could hand them out down there to people that didn't have power. Since everybody was out of power, all the cell towers, all the cell networks were completely down. Nobody could talk to anybody. Nobody knew what was going on. Whenever I went down there, of course, I went with the old standby, the Boofwing or Baofeng UV5R, you know, just in case other people were using these down there, which they were. If you don't have a radio like this or walkie-talkies or really anything, no internet, no nothing, how are you going to communicate with other people for information, etc. There I was going down the rabbit hole of Meshtastic, and that's what these little devices are right here. This is brand new to me. I barely understand it. Literally, I just went down a rabbit hole and then I ordered some of these and tried messing with it. But that's what we're going to be messing around with today, is these little Meshtastic radios. So again, I probably don't really know what I'm talking about, but I figure I would bring you guys along down this little rabbit hole with me. So if you're not familiar with Meshtastic or Meshcore, don't worry, I'm not very familiar either. But basically what Meshtastic is it is this little board right here, okay? This is called a Heltec V4 or version 4. I think most people are using version 3, and I just ordered the newest one. Anyway, Meshtastic is basically you have a group or a bunch of people that have these little tiny boards, and you power it with a little tiny battery, and you 3D print a little tiny case and put an antenna on there, and then you connect this to your phone. Meshtastic is basically a whole bunch of people that have these little tiny boards, and they can communicate back and forth via text and their phone. The more people that are kind of spread out, you know, in your city or in your area, all of these little boards will create kind of like a mesh, and one guy on this side of town can technically text the guy on that side of the town, and your message will kind of like hop from Meshtastic board to board until it gets to the person that you want it to go to. And there is like a main channel where you can text everybody on the network, or you can create like a secure channel and give it out to your friends or family, and you can just text them only. So that's what we're gonna be meshing around with today, is these little boards. And I also ordered, I went down the rabbit hole and I started ordering stuff. Rake WisBlock or Rake WisBlock. And from what I gather is it's a super efficient board, and a lot of people will make these as a solar node or a solar repeater. I have some other random parts. Here's a little tiny solar panel, a little tiny box. I'll show you all the stuff here in a minute. But we're going to make hopefully a solar repeater, and I am basically building what somebody else has already built. If you just type in Meshtastic solar node or something related to that, you'll see what we're going to build here today. So like I said, I am brand spanking new at this. So if you guys have messed with Meshtastic or Meshcore, which I'll touch on Meshcore real quick too, make sure you put all those comments. You know, I'm probably gonna need all the help I can get. The other one is Meshcore. It works a little bit different, but kind of the same, I guess. Meshcore is good for like cities maybe. You can set these up as being repeaters, and you can set them up as being a client. So for your personal use that you carry around with you would be like a client, and then the one that you would put up on your roof or a tower would be a repeater, and that can relay all the messages from other people to other people. So instead of hopping from little tiny circuit board to another like Meshtastic, Meshcore, you basically send your message to a repeater, and then that will send it out. I think it's a little more efficient, and it might be a little, I don't know if it's better or not. We're gonna find out. Anyway, before I ordered all this stuff, I did look at the Meshtastic map of my area, and whenever I ordered these, there was like 9 or 10 I'm gonna call them nodes because I don't know if that's the right word or not. There were like 9 or 10 people kind of scattered around Omaha. And then whenever I got these and I looked at the map again, I only saw like 2. I don't know if Meshtastic is a new thing here in Omaha or if it's not. Again, I have no idea. If it is brand new, then I will try to set one of these up as a solar node of some sort where it kind of like helps the mesh network. And then we will try that out for a little bit. And then we will also set up one for Meshcore. I also looked up Meshcore earlier today, and there's actually a lot of Meshcore people here already. So I'm guessing Meshtastic, was here previously, but maybe they found out that Meshcore worked better. I don't really know. Let's get to it. So this is the mess that we are working with right now, and I do have some more stuff that we got to open up right there. So anyway, we will start with the Heltec V4 boards. It has a little tiny screen, a couple of buttons, USB-C. On the back, there's another connection right here that you could do GPS, positioning, stuff like that. And then you have your battery and a solar panel connection point right there. So in these little kits right here, you're gonna get the board, a couple of smaller antennas. I forget if these are called, I don't know, maybe an SMA connector. I don't know, don't quote me on that. Another little antenna right here, some little solder standoffs that you can put on the board if you need it, and then your battery and solar connectors right there. And that's what we turned into one of these right here. This is just a 3D printed case that I did with my resin printer. And if anybody else is looking for really good, high quality resin prints, I have become really, really good at it lately. So if you need something printed, just let me know and I will be happy to print you off something. You can see the high quality of stuff that I can create. The next board that we have over here is a Rake WisBlock. And I forget there's a number on there too. 46, it says 30, but I think it's 4631. I could be wrong, again, don't quote me on that. That comes with a couple more antennas, a Bluetooth antenna, another one of those connectors, hardware right here, and it actually came with a USB cable. So this is gonna be our solar node. And for that, I picked up one of these little boxes right here that we can put everything in it. This is a solar panel that I already had. It was from my wireless camera that was out in the tree. It actually fell down from a storm that we had like a year and a half ago. I think the plug is messed up, so we don't need the plug. We're gonna cut it off anyway. And this is a 5 volt 0.9 amp. I hope it's not too much. Everybody says you want like a 5 watt panel. I think this is just a little bit more. So we're gonna attempt to use that solar panel right there. We are going to use an upgraded antenna. I've seen everybody say that these alpha antennas are really good for that, so that's what we're gonna do. So in order to use this, I did have to order these end connectors right here as well. So that little end right there will actually snap onto the board, and convert it over to the bigger antenna. And then everybody else said you need like these pressure relief ports in your little box over here. So I got some of those. To power it, we're going to be using a couple of 18650s. I already had this from my old 18650 days. And I also ordered a couple of these antennas. That's what is sticking off of this one right here, because the little tiny stubby one doesn't really get you very far. I ordered a couple of those. It did seem to help, but after watching some more videos and maybe information, these might not actually be very good. You kind of want maybe a whip antenna would be better. So anyway, I 3D printed some other stuff that did kind of work. Printed that just in case we want to put the WisBlock in there for more of a mobile thing. Printed a little tiny WisBlock holder thingy. We don't really need it, but I printed it anyway. And then over here is a few more options for the Heltec board. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going to use those, but I could. And then I've got a couple more boxes of more stuff, so we can make a couple of more nodes. I can put one in my car, wife's car, and hand them out to my neighbors, stuff like that. So I actually need to open these up real quick and make sure we got everything. I ordered another one of those alpha antennas just in case I want to maybe use it for a mobile something. This one is, oh, that's more resin for attempting to 3D print. Remember, if you need something, you just let me know. You saw my quality prints over there. I had to order some battery jump packs. The wife's battery in her Jeep is failing, so we need to put, I bought two because we can have one in each car. It's always good to be prepared. This is another one of those whiz-bang blocks, or WisBlocks right here. So I got one of those. I think I'm missing, I ordered two more of these Heltec V4 boards and I don't see that. All right, those are not delivered yet. They're gonna be delivered by UPS. All right, so in this video, I think we're actually gonna set up both of these. One's gonna be like the little mobile one that you can carry around, and the other one is going to be the solar node or router. So we're going to start off with the computer, and we're gonna flash both of these with Meshcore. The first thing that you gotta do before you connect these to power is you do have to connect up the little tiny antennas. What I've been told is if you do not hook up the little antenna to these is they will implode and you'll be out like 20 or 30 bucks, however much you spent on the board. First one is gonna be the Heltec V4 and is this connection point right there. And basically these antennas just snap onto there and they're just really, really tiny. This one's the exact same thing, a little tiny antenna. Pop it on there and give it a little twist just to make sure it doesn't pop off. All right, over here on the computer, we're gonna go to flasher.meshcore.co.uk. That's the online web flasher, and that's the only way I know how to do it. From here, we're going to plug in our Heltec V4, and we're gonna hold down that little tiny button on the top until we plug it in. I heard it beep. Nothing shows up on the screen. So over here on the website, you can go here and type in whatever device that you have, but I'm just gonna scroll down because it's not too far down. And we're gonna choose Heltec V4, and it shows you a little picture of what it looks like. So we will select that. You can do companion Bluetooth, which is what we're gonna be doing since we're gonna be hooking it up to a battery. I'm guessing you can hook it up to a USB, maybe for your computer. I'm not sure. And then you can do repeater or room server. For this particular device, we're going to go with the companion Bluetooth, and then for the rake WisBlock, we're going to do repeater. All right, so on this page, you're going to have a couple different versions of software or firmware to install. A lot of people will go with the oldest one in here because it's the most stable, but I'm going to go with the latest version, okay? You can choose whatever you want. We'll scroll down just a little bit more. I am going to erase the device and then flash. All right, right up here, you're gonna get a new pop-up. It's gonna say USB JTAG. If yours doesn't pop up, or if you have a whole bunch of things in here, everybody says to unplug it and then plug it back in on this screen, and then whatever one shows up is gonna be your device, okay? So we're gonna select that. We'll hit connect, and it's gonna start doing its flashy things. And just FYI, there is nothing happening on the screen. It is completely blank, okay? So just understand that. Boom, and we're done. It didn't take more than 1 minute. On here it says it took 11.5 seconds. Now I'm just going to unplug it, plug it back in, and we'll see if it worked. Okay, it says loading. I know you probably can't see it. On the other device that I've done, it's almost like it hangs on this screen, and if it doesn't load, then I'll unplug it and then plug it back in. If you're doing Meshtastic, this is all basically the exact same. It's just a different website. And it might be trying to log into this, so I'm actually going to plug it into a different USB right over here. Okay, now I've got a different USB plug. This one is not plugged into the computer. We're just going to power it on. There we go. Now it says Meshcore V1.11, and it gives you a little Bluetooth pin code so you can pair it with your phone, which we'll probably do after we put it inside of a case. So this one is done. I'm going to go ahead and unplug it. All right, back on the screen, I'm just going to refresh this page so we're starting over at the very beginning. Now we're going to do the WisBlock, which I have never done before. So I don't know if we have to push a button or not. So we will plug that in. We're going to scroll down again, and we're going to look for the rake WisBlock, and I'm pretty sure it's that one. That's what I'm going to go with. So for this one, it's going to be set up slightly different. We need to go to repeater. It looks like the same version, but oh, we might be able to download and copy the firmware files. So that might actually be another way to do it. So anyway, we are going to flash that. Here is our tiny USB serial device. We will select that one. We will connect. I don't think I hit the erase button. If it doesn't work, then we will hit the erase button. Okay, it failed, so we might actually have to hold down that reset button. So let me hit close. I'm gonna unplug it. I'm gonna hold down that reset button, plug it in, and let go. I don't know if that did anything or not. We'll try it again, see what happens. Repeater. Oh, what? Enter DFU mode. This mode enables you to flash your firmware. We can hit that button right there. Hit connect. That might have actually let us do it. So we're going to hit erase. Okay, erase flash. I don't know. Connect. Device erase firmware has been flashed and flash has been erased. You can now flash Meshcore. Flash it. Connect. I don't know, but it is showing a bar here, so it is going up, so that's good. And another thing, that since this one doesn't have a screen on it, I think there's a way that we can set it up basically right here, I think. Configure via USB, that's what we want to do. Since I'm in Omaha, there is a Meshcore here, and they have some settings, I think, that I can, or I should use, and that's what I'm looking up on my screen. It's called omamesh.net. Okay, so yeah, I don't really know too much about this, but I just want to know that we have it set on repeater mode. Right here is where we can change the name, so I'm just going to call it an average repeater. For latitude and longitude, basically, if you want this to be, you know, your position known, I think you can hit that, or you can set coordinates. I'm not going to do that quite yet. Guest password. I'm going to set a password. Let's see. Presets. I need the United States, because that's where we're at. For my spreading factor for Omaha, they're recommending 9, so we will change that to 9. Repeaters coding rate set to 8. And I hope that's all we need to do. So we will save those settings. Data successfully saved. Hopefully it is set up correctly. Okay, now we will go back over there and start putting these together. All right, we're gonna start with the Heltec V4 that we just flashed, and I'm gonna be basically doing the same thing or the same case as this right here. I don't know, it's compact, I kinda like it, and I'm in Nebraska, and it's almost in the shape of Nebraska, except for this little corner right down here. And I also used the new resin, and I printed out a black one, so we're gonna build a black one this time. To power everything, we're gonna be using one 18650. This is your positive side, or the button side, and then if you flip it over, the flat side is gonna be the negative side, okay? This was just reclaimed from a battery drill like many, many years ago. In order to make all this work, I pulled out these little tabs on the inside of this case right here, and that's going to be these little tabs right here, and I just ripped them out of that little tiny case, and then I folded over that bottom prong inwards, and since it's so tight inside that case, I kind of crushed these a little bit so the battery will fit inside the 3D printed case and not like expand this area where the cell is going to go. And all I'm gonna do is hot glue these terminals inside the case. But before we do that, we do have to solder our little JST connector on there. And it would be nice if you had like the helping hands, but I don't have any of those, so we're just gonna freehand it right here. I am going to pre-tin these if I can. Boom, there we go. Got our battery terminals soldered onto our JST. So I'm gonna do down here is the negative, up there is gonna be my positive. Oop, that was probably too much. Boom, there we go. Doesn't have to be pretty or anything like that, just has to be kind of stuck in there. The next thing we can do is we can remove our antenna just from the little SMA connector right here, and remove the nut, and then there's like a star washer and a lock washer. We can remove those, and those are actually going to go in that hole right in there. It's kind of like the same shape like a nut. We'll slide that in there. Boom, just like that, and then we can put our 2 washers on there. We'll do star washer, lock washer, then nut. And for the star washer or the crush washer, whatever you're going to call it, the prongs, I've got them facing out, and I'm putting the lock washer on there and then the nut, and we'll tighten that down. Boom, just like that. Nice and easy. Okay, Next thing we can do is put our Heltec V4 in the little cover right here, and these go in fairly easy. You have the USB-C side on there, so we are going to slide that in first. I'm leaving the antenna connected with all this, so we'll just slide that in there and pop it out the front. So there we go, just like that. I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's a little indentation right there on the inside. That's where the JST connector is going to go. It's so tight in that area because it comes out on the back of the board right here. I don't know if it's just how mine printed out or what, but it's not really wide enough, so I have to clip off the edges of this JST in order for it to kind of fit in there. So that's what I'm going to do right here. Just going to nip the little edges off. It's going to be hard to tell, but all I did is nipped off the little tiny edges. Okay, so now we can push that into the connector on the Heltec. So you can see right up here it says battery, and the other one says solar if you are making this like a solar node, which you can do. So let me get that popped in there. Boom, just like that. And then we're going to fold those wires inward. That little spot right there kind of fits into that little tiny recessed area. We are basically at the point where we can put our battery in, but first we need to remember our antenna so we don't make this thing blow up on itself. And then we will pop in our battery and hope that it doesn't go boom. We're loading Meshcore 1.11. Boom, there we go. Sorry, it doesn't flicker in real life. It's just how the camera picks it up. So that's going to be our pin number whenever we connect this up to the phone. All right, so from here, basically, we just kind of wrap our wires up inside. Hopefully we don't pinch them or anything like that. And then we can kind of snap the cover right on. Boom, there we go. Got it all put together. And just keep in mind, there is a couple places that you could put screws in here, but they're gonna be super, super tiny. 1, 2, 3, and 4 positions for screws. There we go. We have our like little menu button right up here. And then this bottom one is kind of like a reset. All right, now we got this one connected up. How about we move on to the solar repeater or solar node or whatever it's going to be. All right, so these are gonna be the items that we're gonna be using to build our solar node. So of course, we're gonna need a little tiny solar panel. Everybody says, from what I can tell, is a 5-volt solar panel, maybe around 5 to 7 watts. It quit working because I think it pulled the wires out of the plug. So we're not gonna need the plug anyway. We're gonna cut it off and hope that it works. The next thing we're going to be using, like I said earlier, is the rake WisBlock right here. And I'll link all this stuff down below if anybody else is trying to build one of these. That also came with little tiny antennas. Right over here is the Bluetooth antenna, so we will need that one. From there, I'm going to be mounting the little board on this little thing that I printed out. I am only using that is because, like I said, some of the 3D prints that I was doing were actually working. That also came with a USB cable. I don't know if we're going to need that. We're going to be using this alpha antenna right here, which has a different connection point. This is called like an N connector. We did have to get a new antenna piece right here. This is also the N connector, and this was a 2-pack because I just figured I was going to be building more of these, so I got 2. Also, since we're going to be putting everything in a little box, everybody says that you need one of these little pressure relief ports right here, so we got one of those. We're going to be powering it with 3 18650s. I already had this from my 18650 Powerwall days. I do have to remove this TP4056 on there, so that is not part of that's not part of it. And then finally is going to be this little tiny enclosure right here, which we will mount everything inside and hopefully mount the solar panel just right on the door. This comes with some mounting hardware, a rail, and some gland nuts right here, which we may or may not use. So that is basically everything that we have in our little solar build. Okay, so I guess the meat and potatoes is basically we're going to put this down in here. We're going to put the board right over here. Probably drill a hole somewhere up here so we can insert our little antenna mount right there. So the antenna will stick out the top just like that. And this little pressure port, I'm not sure where we're going to mount that quite yet. We'll maybe on the other side over here. And then we'll also drill a hole right here so we can fish our solar panel wire through the front, and we'll probably just mount the solar panel right up here. All right, so that's basically everything in a nutshell. There's actually something I forgot to mention about the rake WisBlock. You need to buy your own JST connectors. And I didn't do that. I had some of these on hand, which will fit the battery port right here, but I don't have any on hand that'll fit the solar port right here. I was just going to solder directly to it, but I'm not going to do that. I am going to desolder this one right here and replace it, and solder on this piece right here so I can make it all work without buying anything else. And just FYI, there is polarity on here. You can see there's a positive on the inside and negative is on the outside. So you just have to make sure you connect this up correctly, otherwise you will fry your board. All right, got the new piece on there. Now for this side, since my current pigtails are already wired, it would actually be wired incorrectly, so I just need to unpin these and swap them around. This is what you have to do if you do order these pigtails. You just need to make sure they're in the correct side. That's what we're doing here. So that one will go here, and this one will go right there. Nice. All right, next thing we're going to work on is the little battery case, and what we need to do is flip it over and parallel or solder all the positives together and then all the negatives together. I just bent all the tabs in, and then I'm going to be using this little tiny piece of wire to parallel all those together along with the little JST connector right here. Just like that, got positive all paralleled together, negative all paralleled together onto the little tiny JST connector right here. Now we're going to put our little battery tray on the little perforated board. This doesn't have to go like anywhere specific or special, but we do want to make sure we don't cover up the holes there. Put some little tiny screws in there and tighten it down. And I want my board to sit in this direction. So, oh cool, those line up too. Perfect. And then the WisBlock will sit right on top of that. I think I found some tiny enough screws for this that won't break my little 3D print. And then for the battery wires, I'm probably going to route those underneath, right over here, just like that. And then we will come around out and then plug right into the battery port right over here. Next thing we're going to do is drill a hole right up here for our antenna mount. We also need to do a hole for our little tiny vent, and I might do that right up here towards this top left corner. After that would be mounting our solar panel probably directly to this front piece right here. We don't have to do that. We could mount this basically anywhere we want. We don't even have to use the mount if we don't want to, but I think I am going to use the mount. That way we can angle the solar panel wherever we want. If we didn't want to use the mount, we could just attach the solar panel directly to the door, honestly, and it would probably be fine. Okay, so I'm not going to be very specific with this. I'm just going to drill, I believe this is a 5/8. All right, I have a step drill bit. We're going to drill a 5/8 hole right up here in the top corner. And then for our little tiny vent, I pulled off the nut and I just set that on here, and I think we need to go around 7/16. And for that, I'm probably going to go right behind the hinge towards the top a little bit so we're away from the WisBlock. Make sure that fits, and it does. All right, now for the solar panel. All right, for my mount here, we're going to have to end up drilling 3 holes, 2 for the mounting screws and then 1 for the wire that we can shove through. Yeah, the spot looks good. And then 1 in the center for the solar panel wire. Boom. All right, got a hole on the top for the antenna. I have a hole on this backside for our little tiny vent. And then I have 2 mounting holes, and then the solar input wire is going to go through that hole right there. All right, we're gonna mount the antenna first, and there is an O-ring on there, so we don't have to silicone this or anything. So we'll put that in there. We're gonna put on, let's see, the star washer first, and then the lock washer, and then the nut. Then you're gonna grab the biggest wrench that you have so you can tighten that down. Boom, the antenna mount is installed. There we go. Next thing we'll do is that little tiny vent. And this also has a little tiny O-ring on it, so we don't have to seal this one either. Put you back there and hope that there's enough room in here. All right, I'm gonna put a little dab of hot glue back here on these wires to hold them in this little tiny channel. Boom, just like that. Now what I need to do is I'm gonna cut down my solar panel wire because I don't need this much excess. We have a red and a gray. We need to solder the solar panel wires to the other JST. I suppose I could check these to make sure it is outputting something. We are showing some output of 2.96 volts just down here, so that's a good sign. I have too much stuff! This is where the helping hands would come into play. Put our heat shrink on. And I'm gonna see if I can put a piece over both of those together. Boom, there we go. Got the solar panel wires soldered to the JST connector and then heat shrinked. All right, now we can route our solar panel wire through the center hole. And then we can install our little tiny mount right here. And we do want to seal these up. So I'm going to use some through the roof sealant right here. A little dabby do ya on that one. And just a little dab on those as well. So on the inside, I do have to put washers and nuts on those just to make it a little bit stronger. I am gonna fill up the solar panel spot right here too. Okie dokie, we're getting real close. Of course, we'll angle that once we're outside. That's okay, we can just pop that right back open. All right, we're at that point where we can put the board inside the box. So I am going to attach the battery wire first. So that is nice and neat. And we will slip this right in here. Got the board installed. Now what I'm gonna do is grab the Bluetooth antenna so we can put that up on there as well. Okay, that one is attached. These have the little 3M sticky stuff on there. Peel that off, pop that right up there on the top. Boom, just like that. And then we're gonna attach our regular antenna. Okay, that one is attached. All right, so that is what everything looks like in there and mounted. So we have our antenna lead going over to the LoRa connection right here. We have the Bluetooth antenna wrapped around and stuck to the top right up here. And we are pretty much done. The only thing we have to do is add our antenna before we add the batteries and the solar panel. Okay, get that installed. Boom, got the antenna mounted on top. Boom, attach that there. Next we can install our batteries and make sure you put these all in the same order because they're all gonna be in parallel. So the top up here is the positive, that's the little button head side, and the bottom side is all flat, just like that. And it would be nice if you marked the inside so you don't forget. There's one battery. We'll just make sure we see some LED lights turn on, which I don't yet. I don't know, maybe there is no LED lights that turn on. I have no idea. So we'll just put all the batteries in here and see if we can connect to it real quick. All right, so for those mounting brackets, I just put them on the back just like this. And you can see we have a little space right there that we can put our worm clamps up against, and this will be up against the pole, and hopefully it'll secure it tight enough, and or if it'll be strong enough, we'll find out in the future. But other than that, all we need to do is take this outside and mount it up and see if we can communicate with the other locals in the local area. Temperature outside is like 2. It was -4 when I woke up. All right, so now on to the app, which I already opened up right here. And I have this one right over here connected up to this phone right here, and I do pick up all sorts of messages, just FYI. And if I go back to the main screen and hit contacts, it's actually 86 that shows up, at least here at my house, that I can get to. All right, so this one right here, we can see it shows up on the screen. It says Meshcore F940AD8D. That's the one we are going to connect to. So I'm gonna hit the little tiny button up here. There is our PIN code, so we're going to tap to connect. And I failed. Let me try again. Sometimes this happens with this specific phone. Anyway, 450745, I think it was, pair. Yeah, my phone sometimes automatically connects to it, and then I have to go back and unconnect it and reconnect again. But this time it seemed to work. First thing that we have to do in here is go up to the little tiny gear up here so we can rename it and set up some other things in here. So I'm going to rename this to AVJ1, Average Joe 1. We'll save that one for that. And then we're gonna scroll down to choose preset, and this is where you set, you know, basically wherever you live. So I'm in the United States, so I'm gonna do that. And it's gonna list out all of your frequency and all that kind of stuff for you. And like I said, Meshcore is here in Omaha, Nebraska and some surrounding areas, and on their website they say to change your spread factor to 9. And then I'm pretty sure the coding rate, I don't know if coding rate actually matters or if we have to put that on 8 or not, but I'm gonna put it on 8. With the V4 you can change the transmit power to 22 if you want to. I'm just going to leave it on 10 for now. If you had the GPS hooked up to these, you could do GPS and all that kind of stuff. I don't have that, so I don't know anything about that. From here, we're going to hit, I think we just hit the check mark, which is going to save it, and then we need to do a reboot. Basically, every time you change something, you want to reboot it. So we'll reboot, success, and it's actually rebooting and loading. So we'll hit the connect button again. And you can see it's syncing channels up here at the top. Now, we're not technically on the network yet. We have to go up here to this symbol. I'm not sure what it's called. Underneath that, we have advert 0 hop. I think that's basically if you're kind of like out in the boonies and it's just a couple of people or a group, you can communicate from device to device. Or if you're in like a city like I am, you want to hit advert flood routed. So what that'll do is, instead of going from device to device, whenever you send a message, this will send out the message to the router, and then the router will send out the message to whoever you're trying to message or on the public channel. So we're going to do that. Advert sent, flood routed. You can actually see it showed up right here. New contact discovered, AVJ1. Okay, so I don't think I can technically communicate yet. So I'm gonna go back to the main screen on here, and I'm gonna do the same thing, is basically rebroadcast myself. And hopefully we'll see it on here. There we go. So I have a new contact, which is me. So now what we can do, we can message each other or message myself, and we'll just test that out real quick. We'll do hi. And I got a hi over here, goes up right over here, AVJ1, we have a hi right there. So we'll do hi back, send, oh, I missed my K. It's hi back J. All right, so there we go. Both of these are communicating together. Now, the only problem that I have here is I'm in kind of like a valley, and my messages don't technically leave my property for the most part. That's all I really know, because I could show you right here. We'll go back to channels and then into the public channel. There's no messages in here. I'm going to say hi in the public channel. That's going to show up over here in the public channel, but that's it. I don't send any messages out to the network because I'm pretty much in a valley. And that's why I'm hoping that the repeater, once I throw that up on the roof, that will be strong enough to... Whoa, 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 I got a message? Holy crap, this is the first time I've ever gotten a message at my house. Whoa, you got me? Okay. I'm really surprised right now. Watch, that'll be the only one that works. We'll see if they respond. Nope. And this will also, you know, let you know what you're connected to and messages and stuff that show up on here, new contacts and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that repeater is working. I don't even know if it's connected to the repeater. So what I'm gonna do real quick is we're gonna connect to the repeater real quick. Let's see, how do we do that? We need to do We'll go to Tools, and we're going to do Discover Nearby Nodes, and hopefully that will discover the repeater. Okay, we are picking up a repeater. Somebody else's repeater. Repeater 6B7C. We're going to hit Add on that. Sure. And also, wherever you're located, since we just hooked this up and connected it or whatever, the longer it sits, the more contacts and stuff that it's going to find. So this is literally brand new, so it's not going to find anything quite yet. Oh, I think my battery's about dead on this one. Let me plug it in. Oh, there we go. We got ours. That's our repeater, or my repeater. And I did, just FYI, you can put emojis and all that kind of stuff in there, which is pretty cool. All right, cool. So we have ours, and that one's connected. I think all we really need to do now is, okay, so I don't think I'm getting any other messages. It was just the one. All right, this is literally the first time I've been able to send a message out from my house. And that was kind of like the main reason why I wanted to put up the solar repeater. But before we throw it up there, I was going to show you that you can log in or remote manage your repeaters. So with that, we're going to go back to contacts. And since we have it in our contacts list, we are going to select that, and I'm going to put it in a favorite right here, but we can hit manage, and since I didn't pay for this app, I have to wait 10 seconds, and we'll hit continue. You have to put in your password that you made. Boom, there we go. So in here, you've got status, command line, and settings. So we'll go to settings, boom, there you go. So now you can see I renamed mine. You can put emojis and stuff in there. So I did the little boom, of course, and a battery repeater. For your radio settings, you can hit the refresh button if you want. These will be the settings that we put in through the computer. If we scroll down right in here, you can send out an advert. Basically what we did on the phones right here. You can do advert intervals, and that is set to 60 minutes and 3 hours or something like that. You can do position on the map, or you can be hidden. You can sync the clock, which you should do, which I already did. And then there's a few other things in here that you can do. Basically, whenever you change a setting, you want to reboot the repeater. And then the last thing that we have to do, which I forgot to mention a couple minutes ago, is everybody wraps these connection points right here to make them waterproof with a special tape. I forget what it's called, but when I was in the Air Force, they called it F4 tape. And it's basically like this rubbery, stretchy tape that only sticks to itself. So we just need to wrap the antenna down here so it'll be waterproof. So we just want to stretch it and then wrap it on itself. Once you get it started, then it's a little easier to go. You don't need very much of this. It's only just a couple inches. I forget what the internet calls it. If you ever take off the antenna, then you'll have to rewrap it again. All right, that's basically it, is we just wrapped the area down here to keep the water out. I'm not sure how critical that step is, but I'm doing it because I had some. I just wanted to mention real quick, there is a Meshcore analyzer. So I've only been able to send out that one message that said hi. CBS1 said hello, and then the red Meshbot, or the Meshbot, sent a message saying I can do stuff. But as you saw, I tried to send out, well, you got me. That did not go. And then I put another one, I'm in a hole. That one did not get out either. And if we look at that little analyzer I was just showing you, my messages did not get out. So I don't know what's the deal with that. Hopefully we'll get it figured out. I'm pretty excited about this. Okay, anyway, let's go put the solar repeater up on the roof. Super, super cold out, right, meow? I'll go up here to the roof. Hopefully my ladder doesn't fall. That would suck. Oh yeah, snow blindness. Kind of forgot about that. My solar panels are still covered with snow. I need to clear that off. Okay, right here basically is where I'm going to put the little solar node. All right, here's this little pole, and I've got my little wind meter up here that doesn't really work anymore. I've got a solar camera up here again, which doesn't really work. I don't know if I'm gonna take that down yet because it's really freaking cold out here, but anyway, I'm going to mount the solar repeater basically right up here at the top with a couple of worm clamps and call it a day. And again, it's really windy, so I can't stand the camera up too high. So this is gonna be the best angle that you can get. Boom, there we go, solar repeater installed. Super, super quick and easy. Just again, the 2 worm clamps on the 2 clamps on the back of the box here. And honestly, it's on here really, really strong. It's not gonna go anywhere unless something on here like breaks, which I guess is a potential. But anyway, I'll probably remove the weather station sometime, but I'm just gonna leave it for now since it's so cold out. And honestly, I'll probably remove this wireless camera up here because it barely works anyway. And if I do that, I might be able to use that solar panel for another node because back here, it's got a bunch of 18650s in it as well. So anyway, yeah, there we go. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention, the main reason why I wanted this out here is because my house is kind of in a valley. So there's a hill going up over there. There's a hill going up over there, and then hill over this way. Really, the only way that's kind of open is north. And I believe there is another repeater over in that general northwest direction. So I'm hoping I can connect to that one and then send my signal out. So there we go, solar repeater installed. Okay, I am going to go inside and see if we can send out some messages because it is really, really cold. Actually, I need to clean off the solar panels real quick too. All right, well, that's about as good as I can do with the conditions that I'm in. Alrighty, it is quite a bit later. I didn't want to waste your time of me trying to send out messages and waiting for a reply and just waiting for a reply. So I went on the Discord for the Omaha Meshcore Discord or whatever you want to call it, and I asked them basically, you know, if I have everything set up correctly, and so far I do. I think they kind of came to the conclusion that since I am in kind of like a valley, my house, you know, is in a valley, I might need to get the solar repeater higher or in a different location. It's kind of weird because here at my house, I'll try to send out messages and literally, you guys saw it, that was the first message I got to send out from my house and I never got a reply after that. I went and drove around a little bit and literally as soon as I drove like 100 feet from my house, I was able to send out a message and then nothing from there. So basically the problem is the little antennas. Yes, this is the little tiny one and I've got that other bigger one around here somewhere. It all works off of line of sight. So if these antennas can't technically see other antennas, then you know you can't communicate. And I think that's the problem I'm having here at my house. I'm literally surrounded like on all 3 sides. To the north of me is pretty open. There might be some hills, and then I saw on the map there's actually a repeater kind of like northwest from here, but I don't think I technically have line of sight to that one. If you look on the map, there are repeaters all over the place. I'm just in a hole right here. So I didn't want to waste your time of me trying to set out messages and wait for a reply. So that is where we are at right meow. I think I need to get my repeater up higher so it's kind of in line of sight. I don't know if I'm gonna climb a tree or not and then strap it higher up in a tree, or if I can maybe find like somebody else's house that I could like put it on further up on the hill, because then these little guys will communicate to the repeater and then the repeater will send my messages out. That's like the whole point of this, is for me trying to be able to have communications whenever there is no cell communications, or you know, if there's some big disaster or whatever the case may be, I can still communicate with other people. Because once I get this working, you know, then I'll hand them out to a couple of buddies, friends, you know, stuff like that in my area, and then we can still communicate back and forth. But for the time being, I cannot communicate successfully, which sucks because I'm really, really excited because I printed out all sorts of stuff. I'm so excited that I printed out more stuff on the printer. I'm just letting it kind of cure right now. I just really, really want it to work. And I know it'll work because everybody else in the surrounding area, you know, they're all talking to each other and chatting it up and having a gay old time. And I'm just in here sending out little messages. Can anybody hear me? Look, I just literally got another message right now. It says, hello, Lincoln. Lincoln is like a good 60 miles from my house. So there's repeaters all over the place. I'm just in the only valley here. Anyway, that's where we're at right now. I think I'm gonna call it a day for this video for right now. I'm sure I've wasted enough of your time, but we have successfully communicated with myself and one other person. I think in the meantime, what I'll probably do is mess around with the solar repeater, see if I can find maybe a new location, or maybe if I'm feeling, you know, dangerous, then I'll climb up a tree and strap it up higher. I'm really hoping that'll work because I really don't want to put it, you know, in somebody else's house or property. And then once I can have it successfully working from my house, I will do a whole nother video. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns about Meshcore or Meshtastic, oh, that was the other thing, is I might set up Meshtastic again as well, because I did try that one and I drove around trying to get anybody to say hello, and I never got any contact with that either. But I think I'm going to do both here just in case, and maybe help the network or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm talking about. All right, that's pretty much all I got. Don't forget to like that smash button on your way out, and I'll see you on the next one. Look at that. I don't understand it. I can receive messages. I just can't send them out. Go!